Yeah, the global industry standard for tailings management has definitely boosted our workload, and those deadlines that were set by themselves and the ICMM have certainly brought about an enormous amount of work, and it's a multidisciplinary amount of work. So it's not just in the tailings field itself, it's looking at things like dam breach assessments, it's doing geotechnical investigations, it's doing water balances, and so the amount of work has certainly grown. And in addition to that, there's been a backlog of work. In this part of the world, a lot of tailings dams were designed 10 or 20 years ago, and the GISTM standard is saying you've got to do things at a different standard to what they were designed to. And so that's brought along a lot of work to get things up to those standards. And in some cases that's to do with dam safety, in other ways to do with water management. And so we've been working hard on bringing those things up to date, including instrumentation. That's a key field in terms of monitoring and improving the surveillance of our operations, knowing what's going on within the facility. So in terms of the mining companies, they had to, by August 2023, look at the compliance of the very high and the extreme consequence classification tailings dams, and a lot of them met those requirements for that deadline of August 2023. But in some cases they had to say it complies, but there's more work that they have to do. And in terms of the workload for us, it means we've still got to fill those gaps. So in all the investigations and studies we did, we opened up more gaps. And so that work is still ongoing, in addition to the work that we've got to do now for what's called the low, significant and high consequence classification dams. They have to be compliant by August 2025. So that's still coming. So that work is ongoing. And in addition to that, there's a lot of monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, and ongoing work that we have to do to continue being compliant. So this whole GISTM standard has certainly brought about an increase in our workload, and has meant that we've got to employ much more staff, and we're bringing in young graduates and training them as well and mentoring them and so on. So it's been very positive for us, and I think at Piésold we sort of look at ourselves and say, what can we do to make sure we're creating a really good career for these young engineers that are coming in, and how can we mentor them and make sure that they're using the software correctly and so on. So right now there is a real threat. There are a number of commodity prices that are moving down, and it does affect some of those mines, potentially to the point of moving into care and maintenance if the prices continue to drop. So it is a threat to not only those mines in terms of their operational costs, but do they then come to us and say, on the tailing side we need to cut back? And so we have to engage with our clients on those types of things, and our first reaction would be, no, you can't cut back, because this is a mine safety related issue. You need to maintain all of these things. But there are certain things where we can say to them, okay, some of your studies we can maybe hold back, or there are certain things we might be able to delay. But if it's your normal ongoing operations, if it's dam safety related, you may not cut back. And so that's the discussions we have to have with them. And certainly if they were to go into care and maintenance, you still have to do certain things during care and maintenance. So it is an interesting field at the moment, and certainly in the battery metals sphere, in some of the PGMs, they are facing these cost-cutting measures at the moment. So we're talking to them, and at this time, I think there's a good sense of we will work together, and we will see you through this dip in the market. Yeah, so I think in Southern Africa here, we are facing a skills shortage, and the tailings field is not exactly something that people come out of university knowing what it is. They come out as a civil engineer or maybe even as a geotechnical engineer, and we have to then retrain them and build them into the tailings sphere. But like I say, it's a bit multidisciplinary, so you need a bit of water, and you need a bit of dam sort of backgrounds and materials and geotech backgrounds. So it's an interesting field, but we are finding people. We are finding young graduates coming out of university looking for work, and we're finding some really good people, and they are learning fast, they're willing, they're keen, and so we are developing them. Our problem though is that we are losing staff regardless of how well we pay them, regardless of how well we train them, we are losing them to poaching, you could call it, from overseas market. The overseas are also short of skills, so they're looking for people, and they can potentially pay them more and look after them, and then they're able to relocate them, you know, at full cost. So that is one of our real challenges, and so regardless of how well we are looking after our staff, and we're certainly trying to pay them well and incentivize them, that is a real challenge for us as we're losing top people, and it's even worse when we lose people who have 5 to 10 or 15 years experience. It's not quick and easy to replace that. And in some respects, you know, foreign countries and companies shouldn't be poaching from the third world or the second world or developing countries, because we need those capabilities. And we need to be able to build capacity into Southern Africa, not just South Africa. The mining market is not just, you know, South Africa. So we want to build our capacity in our other offices. We've got offices in the DRC and in Zambia and in Namibia and in Botswana and in Madagascar. And we're doing work in Zimbabwe. We want to build those capacities and skills. How do we do it if we keep losing people? So that is the tension that we're dealing with at the moment in terms of that market. And as I say, we are just fortunate that our universities are producing good people, they are looking for work, and we can employ them. But our gap is between the sort of, you know, losing them after 5 to 10 years, and that's not easy to replace.